Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. You can follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. To support the show, you go to paypal.me/cupofjoepod. If you use Cash App or Venmo, I'm at The Joey Harris. You can also support us that way. No amount is too large and no amount is too small, folks. I do really appreciate it if you give. Right here at the start, I just want to send out my condolences. This past week, we learned that Scott Cornish, longtime wrestling humorist, just all-around great guy. He was on a lot of the Arcadian Vanguard shows. I know Brian had him on the 605 podcast, and he's also been on Stick to Wrestling, just a all-around good guy. Just had a couple of small interactions with him through some comments on post on Facebook, but always enjoyed his stuff whenever I heard him on a podcast, and just my condolences to his friends and fans and family. And also, folks, I need to tell you about my weekend. We had our friend Michelle here from Maine, my wife and I, and on Friday I took off from work because my nephew was having his 5th grade promotion ceremony from elementary school, and they live over 200 miles away from us. And so his ceremony started at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we all got up at 3, left a little bit after 4 to go there. And we went there, did that. Ceremony was great. Celebrated him, went out to breakfast afterwards, did some things, traveled some distances. But all in all, on Friday, I drove over 500 miles, and so I was just wiped the rest of the day. Slept almost 10 hours going into Saturday, and so we dropped our friend Michelle off at the airport. She was leaving to fly back to Maine, and then my wife and I went to see my friend TJ at a background role in the movie Summer Camp. So we saw that and did some shopping on Saturday, but had a low-key weekend after all the driving we did on Friday. But anyway, today we look at the Three Way Dance from ECW. ECW's Three Way Dance took place on April the 8th, 1995 from the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There were 1,500 in attendance. We get the most complete form and TVMA intros. Joey Styles welcomes us to ECW. He brings out Stevie Richards and Raven. Sabu no-showed the event and was temporarily fired. Richards and Raven come out with the Broad Street Bullies. Richards informs him that Raven says that they are fired if they don't win their match. The Broad Street Bullies, Johnny Hotbody and Tony Stetson versus the Pit Bulls. The Pit Bulls attack the Bullies as soon as they get in the ring. Pitbull 1 throws Hotbody out while Pitbull 2 throws Stetson down to the canvas. Pitbulls hit the super bomb to win. Pitbulls tell Raven that they kicked some ass just like he wanted them to. They say that they are there to kick ass. Richards then tells Raven he brought the girl from summer camp here for Raven, and Raven slaps Richards. Richards then brings out Beulah McGillicuddy. Raven is speechless. Raven gets in the corner, and Tommy Dreamer comes out. You know, this whole Raven, Tommy, Beulah subplot would have been good for the movie Summer Camp. It needed it. Raven versus Tommy Dreamer. Raven attacks Dreamer as soon as Dreamer gets in the ring. Raven throws Dreamer out. Dreamer runs Raven into the barricade. They fight towards the back. They fight all over, and Dreamer hits Raven with a trash can. He hits Raven with a frying pan, and Styles calls Dreamer the innovator of violence. Raven low blows Dreamer, who attacks Raven with a cheese grater, back and forth. Raven's face is bloody, and he attacks Dreamer with a chair and runs him into the barricade. He hits Dreamer with a forearm from the apron. They fight out into the crowd. Raven runs Dreamer into a steel pillar. Raven with a spinning heel kick to Dreamer from the apron. Dreamer comes back with a chair shot. They fight to the back again. Dreamer splashes Raven. They fight back towards the ring. Dreamer hits a pile driver. The fans chant, "He's hardcore" to Dreamer. Dreamer with an Irish whip, and Raven hits a DDT. Both wrestlers down. Dreamer covers Raven for a 2 count. Raven hits a second DDT and a drop kick with a power slam for a 2 count. Richards kisses Beulah at ringside and she slaps him. Richards starts choking Beulah. Dreamer comes out to help Beulah and she sprays him with the hairspray. It was a setup. Richards hits a super kick and Raven DDTs Dreamer to get the pin. Ron Simmons is in the ring and gets on the mic and tells someone to go back to the dressing room and spare themselves an ass whipping. You find that he is talking to Mikey Whipwreck. Ron Simmons versus Mikey Whipwreck. The fans start a kick his ass Mikey chant. Whipwreck gets on the apron. Simmons tells him to go back to the locker room. Simmons hits an enziguri to knock Whipwreck off the apron. He throws Whipwreck in and Whipwreck backs away. Simmons beats Whipwreck down. He picks Whipwreck up just to throw him down again. The crowd chants for 911. Simmons picks Whipwreck up. Inverted backbreaker to Whipwreck. He continues the beatdown. Simmons with an Irish whip. Whipwreck drops down and kicks Simmons low, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. Whipwreck with a series of shots. He hits a drop kick and a clothesline. He hits a drop kick from the top turnbuckle. He gets a 2 count. Whipwreck gets caught coming off the top rope and gets power slammed by Simmons. He follows it up with a choke slam. The 911 chant starts again. Another choke slam to Whipwreck. He then choke slams referee John Finnegan. The bell rings. Simmons is disqualified. Simmons throws Whipwreck out and 911 catches Whipwreck. Simmons attacks 911 as he is getting into the ring. 911 with a front face lock to Simmons and some forearms. 911 goes to choke slam Simmons, who drops to his knees and low blows 911. Simmons leaves the ring. Wrestlers come from the back to check on 911 and he starts choke slamming them. The crowd screams one more time to 911. 911 calls out Simmons and choke slams Joel Hartgood again. Joey Styles interviews Chris Benoit. He calls out Taz and calls Sabu a pussy. That's a classless move by Benoit here if you know the story about Sabu in Japan around this time. Another reason to hate this jerk. Taz comes out and they trade blows. Dean Malenko attacks Taz from behind, only for Taz to get saved by his surprise partner for the night, Rick Steiner. The crowd goes insane. A fuck Sabu chant goes out. ECW Television Championship match, Too Cold Scorpio versus Eddie Guerrero. They shove each other. The bell rings and they circle each other. The crowd chants Eddie. Guerrero pushes Scorpio. They lock up and Guerrero with a takedown. Guerrero with a side headlock takeover. Scorpio comes back with a shoulder block. Back and forth. Guerrero with a head scissors. Scorpio with a modified STF. Guerrero counters with a hammer lock and gets a 1 count. Guerrero with a side suplex. Scorpio rolls out to regroup. Back and forth. They trade quick counts. Guerrero with a somersault splash and puts the Scorpion deathlock on. Scorpio counters and Guerrero gets to the ropes. Guerrero with a brain buster. He hits a frog splash for a 2 count. Scorpio with a leg to Guerrero's head. Guerrero with an eye poke. Back and forth. Scorpio with a super kick. Scorpio throws Guerrero out and follows him. Guerrero whipped into the barricade. Scorpio suplexes Guerrero back in the ring. Scorpio with a double arm to Guerrero for a 2 count. Guerrero with a clothesline. Scorpio rolls outside and Guerrero hits a frog splash from the turnbuckle to Scorpio on the outside. Guerrero rolls Scorpio back in the ring. He gets a cradle suplex for a 2 count. Guerrero goes up top and Scorpio cuts him off. Guerrero hits a tornado DDT from the second turnbuckle for a 2 count. Guerrero with a corner whip, but Scorpio moves on the charge. Scorpio with an elbow and goes up top, but this time he gets caught. Guerrero with a top rope Frankensteiner for a 2 count. Guerrero puts Scorpio on the turnbuckle. Scorpio shoves Guerrero off, but Guerrero hits a backflip to land on his feet. Scorpio hits a crossbody to get a 2 count. A right hand gets another 2 count. Scorpio with a moonsault for a 2 count. An Eddie chant goes out. Scorpio hits a powerbomb. Scorpio with a rolling leg drop. Scorpio hits a tumbleweed for another 2 count. Scorpio with a super kick. Guerrero gets a quick roll up to get the pin and become the new TV champion. They shake hands after the match. Loser gets his head shaved. Axel versus Ian Rotten. Ian runs out to meet Axel, but gets ran into the barricade. Axel hits Ian with things from the audience. Axel hits Ian with a metal sign. Ian runs Axel into the apron. Axel reverses a corner whip, back and forth. Ian throws Axel into a barricade. They fight out into the crowd and Axel hits Ian with a chair. They trade shots. Ian is busted open. They brawl out into the crowd. Both have been busted open now. Back in, Ian choking Axel and gets a 2 count. Axel with a clothesline and attacks Ian with the timekeeper's hammer. He digs it into Ian's arm. Axel with a running boot to Ian. He hits a swinging neck breaker for a 2 count. They brawl to the outside. They brawl out into the crowd again. Axel suplexes Ian into the bleachers. Axel throws Ian back to ringside and into the ring. They hit each other with a chair. Ian pile drives Axel into the chair. Ian misses a second rope elbow drop when Axel moves. Axel with an Irish whip. Chair shot to get the pin. Axel shaves Ian's head. Ian attacks Axel as Axel was throwing the hair out to fans. He attacks Axel in the head with scissors, throws a trash can into the ring and leaves. Axel gets to his feet, and the fans chant ECW. Hack Myers versus Dino Sandoff. The crowd is solidly behind Myers. He attacks Sandoff. Total domination by Myers. Myers with an apron leg drop and takes Sandoff to the outside. He misses a clothesline and hits the ring post. Sandoff hits Myers. Back in, Sandoff works on the injured shoulder. Sandoff with a short arm clothesline. Sandoff with a scoop slam. But Myers comes back with a brainbuster to get the pin. Myers throws Sandoff out of the ring. ECW World Heavyweight Championship match. Shane Douglas versus the Sandman with Woman. Sandman and Woman do their entrance with the cane and the cigarette. Douglas went to Todd Gordon and had the cane banned from being used during the match. He comes to the ring and wants Woman out of the ring. She gets out of the ring and Douglas immediately attacks Sandman. Douglas with a suplex. They clip the match, and when they come back, Sandman has Douglas in a crossface chicken wing and Douglas is refusing to give up. Douglas gets out and Sandman puts the hold back on near the ropes and tells Woman to slap Douglas. Woman refuses to do it. Sandman lets go and yells at Woman. Sandman with a shoulder breaker. He slaps Douglas. They cut to Sandman going up top and hitting a leg drop. He tells Woman to go get the cane. Sandman with a pile driver. Woman gets up on the apron with the cane. Sandman lights a cigarette. Woman throws the cane to Douglas, who low blows Sandman with the cane. He rolls Sandman up with an inside cradle to get the pin. Douglas celebrates with Woman. Douglas dumps the pack of cigarettes on Sandman. They cut to Sandman lighting a cigarette. Sandman then cuts a promo on Woman and Douglas in the locker room and promises a beating. They cut to Douglas and Woman. He says Sandman doesn't have what it takes to take what Douglas has got. He says he's the best in the ring. Woman says she made Sandman. He was nothing without her. The three-way dance for the ECW World Tag Team Championship. Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko versus the Public Enemy, Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge versus Rick Steiner and the Tasmaniac with Paulie Dangerously and 911. Public Enemy out first and the crowd is into them. The tag champions out next. The network cuts out the music used because as much as the music was part of ECW, they'll never make that money back. The two teams start brawling right away. The champions beat Public Enemy down. Steiner and Taz hit the ring. They clear the ring. They suplex the others as they come into the ring. Steiner and Benoit going back and forth. Benoit with a belly-to-back suplex. Steiner rolls through and hits the Steiner line. Steiner with a top rope bulldog to Benoit. Everyone else brawling to the outside. Someone throws Steiner a cookie sheet and he hits Grunge. Benoit runs Taz into a ring post. Rock with a moonsault off the ropes onto Steiner, who catches Rock and hits a tombstone pile driver. Grunge makes the save. Everyone goes back out and brawling. A lot of brawling. The action is hard to follow. They start to make their way back to the ring. Benoit and Malenko get Taz down and Benoit hits a flying headbutt and Taz is pinned. Taz and Steiner are eliminated. They continue to brawl after Benoit stomps Grunge in the corner. Benoit stomps Grunge in the corner. Malenko has Rock down in the corner. Steiner comes in and hits everyone with Paulie's phone. Everyone finally leaves except the competitors left in the match. Back and forth. Grunge with a fall-away splash on Malenko for a 1 count. Rock gets Benoit down. Grunge chokes Benoit with a chair. Malenko makes the save. Malenko drops a knee on Grunge. Benoit and Rock brawl to the outside. Now all four brawl on the outside. Rock hits Benoit with a chair and a soda. Malenko goes for a sunset flip on Grunge, who just drops back on Malenko. Grunge chokes Malenko with a cord. Rock DDTs Benoit on the stage below the broadcast booth. Rock dives onto Benoit on the table, but Benoit moves and Rock goes through the table. All four back in the ring. Malenko hits Rock with a brainbuster. Benoit and Malenko bring a table in the ring. Benoit superplexes Rock through the table. They taunt Sabu. A fuck Sabu chant goes out. Double suplex to Grunge. They get a 2 count after hesitating about who will get the pin. Grunge with a double DDT. Rock hits the drive-by to get the pin, and we have new tag team champions. The crowd celebrates again. Steiner and Taz come back out and brawl with Benoit and Malenko back to the locker room. Public Enemy celebrates with the crowd. The Pit Bulls come out and attack the Public Enemy as they sign off from Philadelphia. Final thoughts. This was an enjoyable show. It's worth at least one watch. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.